If you go look at the comments under my videos on YouTube, you'll see basically two kinds of comments. And one is the kind that comes from people who are totally stuck in their early trauma. I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy, and I teach people about the adult symptoms of childhood PTSD and how to start recovering so you can get back on the path toward a happy and connected life. And I emphasize connection because I believe that at its heart, childhood PTSD is an injury to the ability to connect. That injury to connection is the starting point of a whole world of problems that so many of us experienced as a consequence of abuse and neglect in childhood. So to recover from that, I teach people a new way to focus their healing, to shift the focus off the past and off of other people and onto their own symptoms. Because that, right here in the symptoms we have, that is where healing is possible. And even though my message about this is like, I say it so many times, it's like a drumbeat, I still get a lot of comments and emails from people who are on a different path. And some of them are really stuck in a lot of pain. Now, in case you're in that group and you just haven't come to one of my courses yet, or my coaching, or one of my Zoom calls, I want to tell you how to get out of that stuck group and into the other group, the group that's not stuck. They're healing, they're moving forward, they're changing their lives, and I'm going to describe how they're doing it. Now, I'm not a doctor or therapist. I'm just someone who recovered from my own childhood PTSD, and I've learned from both my own experience and from working with thousands of people who went through neglect and abuse in their childhood. And because I've watched some people have amazing breakthroughs that changed their lives, and I've witnessed other people stay miserable and stuck and disconnected, I've come up with a couple of observations. Now, if you're miserable and not progressing the way you want to, the way you need to progress, I want you to stay with me here just through the end of the video so you can see what I'm seeing as I hear from all of you who engage with my content about the patterns that are working and the patterns that are really just making people who want to move forward feel miserable. So, okay, two basic self-concepts that I'm observing. The first is what I notice in people who are working really hard to figure out the problem caused by their experiences and to find the solutions that seem to help them get better. Now, not everything they've tried may have been helpful, but they're active in this project and noticing where they got lifted up and where it didn't really work, where they fell short. And in the comments, you'll if you read them, they're sharing these nuggets of their own wisdom. They'll say, I tried X, Y, and Z, and X really sucked, and Y was amazing. And there are clear signs in them, signs that I normally recognize that someone is actually healing. They will say that they're getting along better with people. They feel more at ease in groups or when they're alone. And this is kind of an advanced stage of healing. Their talents and their gifts will start emerging and filling up their lives with a sense of purpose and actions that are helpful to other people. Now, for this first group, they're subscribing to my channel because, and this is what they tell me, it's practical, it's solution-oriented, it's based on not just theory, but real experience about healing that they relate to. They're feeling not alone anymore. And for people who are having a breakthrough in their healing like this, it feels exciting to try out new tools and ideas and see if there's something in there they can use. They want inspiration, they want action steps, they're ready to go. Now you can tell I like that group, right? But I also love the second group. And these are the folks where the breakthrough simply hasn't happened yet. They're good people, they've worked hard on their healing, and a lot of them are knowledgeable about the treatments out there, and they've tried a lot of them, but the healing has not come. And so this group can be very, very discouraged, and they've come to feel helpless and hopeless. And you can see it in the comments they write, that deep down inside, they've stopped believing that healing is possible for them. That right there. And where that leaves a person, and you see it reflected in their comments, is in bitterness. So people who are going through this will have a lot to say about things outside themselves, family members, parents, siblings, exes, the people who said they would help them but couldn't or wouldn't, the hospitals or therapists or institutions that made them feel unimportant and unseen. And people in this state of discouragement can tell you very clearly what's wrong with all the other people, what ought to change. And they can tell you what their pain is like. That's common. That's okay. But this second group, the discouraged and stuck group, what's also clear is that they have a very vague or non-existent concept of themselves, of what they'd be like without the emotional pain. The pain becomes everything, as if it's who they are. And so they can't see themselves in a different future state where things have changed for the better. They can't even imagine it and what that might be like, what day-to-day life would feel like if they weren't trapped inside their own symptoms. So that's what I mean by stuck. Now, getting stuck in pain and isolation is a very traumatized thing to do. And it happens to everybody sometimes. But if you want to break out of that, you've got to, and you might recognize this phrase from another context, but you've got to break the wheel. And what I mean by wheel is the churning, negative thinking and emotion states that go round and round within us. The blame, the obsession with people who hurt you, the withdrawal from life, the struggling, the failure, the ways you never felt accepted or seen, and the stories that we end up telling ourselves over and over about why we are the way we are. And it's not that these stories aren't true, but if we can't stop the spinning on those stories, the wheel just gets stronger. And the wheel is simultaneously like a vacuum that sucks everything into it, and it's like a centrifuge. It pushes everything off. So it spins and it throws off and scatters everything that you care about, people who love you, wonderful opportunities in your life to have fun or have financial security, have joy and humor. Just cool, it just goes away. And as devastating as it is, the wheel is also very seductive because it looks like it's going to make you feel better. And that's why I use this metaphor, that you can't just slow down the wheel. You can't just ask it a lot of questions why it is the way it is, or analyze it, or look at the trajectory of everything it throws off. You just have to shove a big stick into that wheel and break it. And if that's a violent image, don't worry. What you can picture is that the wheel's made of air, because it is. It's not even real. And when you break the whole thing, it evaporates like a cloud. It's gone. You thought the wheel was going to make you feel better, but did it? You thought the wheel had ruined your life, but has it? Has it done that already? You thought that the wheel would protect you from triggers of other people, but it doesn't. It actually just kept you stuck in pain and made you see nothing but helplessness. But you know what? You're not helpless. There's a whole wide world of experiences out there if you can get just a little breathing room just to get started from that cycle of fear and anger and analysis and diagnosis and blame and more fear, right? Thinking and talking about this stuff doesn't make it go away. It goes away, and remember, all you need is just a little breathing room. It goes away when just for a moment you can release the story and open yourself up to a new and fresh experience of yourself and your capabilities, because you are capable. You're capable in present time of changing these things. Now, the focus needs to come off of time past and off of other people and onto the only thing you can heal, which is yourself, and the knowledge that right here, right now, through practical steps, you open the door to that healing process by changing your mental state. Now, I know that's hard, but I can teach you how to do it. You are not helpless. This is hopeful. For there to be hope, you need to just have a vision, an ideal, and you need to have a belief that healing is actually possible for you inside, your own healing. Whether or not other people change or circumstances change, this is the crucial sign that someone is on a good path. They recognize their own agency and they begin to see choices. Even when CPTSD puts nothing but horrible choices in front of you, you have a choice. And despite the symptoms you have today, you can move one foot in front of the other toward the healed life that you need, that you deserve. And it starts in the way you regard the possibility of your own healing. Because if you're telling yourself that you're totally damaged, that you're hopelessly screwed up, then whether you mean to or not, you're disconnecting with your life and all the people in it. People generally have a lot of compassion, but when they sense that negative wheel spinning, it's like a hum you can feel in other people, right? And what do? You pull away. And the very thing that you're longing for, which is for them to come toward you, to help you, to be connected with you, it can't happen. And you're like, why can I not get some support? Why doesn't anyone believe in me? Can't they see I need some help? And yeah, it's a harsh place to be. So how do you even begin? If you can just do one thing today, I'll keep it really simple for you. Just get it into your mind what it will feel like when your PTSD reactions to life are reduced. You want to give it a little try? Okay, let's take a minute and walk you through it. Imagine that you're in a stressful situation that's normally triggering for you, a party, being at work, getting your feelings hurt by somebody you care about. Now remember what it's like when you start getting dysregulated and reactive to the situation, okay? We're just going to dwell on that very briefly. Don't go way into it, but just try to remember what that's like. You might feel tight. Your heart races. You want to lash out. Maybe you want to go silent. You want to get numb. And you get scared that that same old part of you that screws things up and always comes out when you're triggered is going to happen again. Okay, that's all you have to do. Let that go. Now, in comparison, imagine you're in that situation, but your PTSD symptoms are 50% less. All right? You feel a little rise when you're triggered, but it doesn't go over the top. You don't lose control. You still have choices about what you say, what your facial expression is. You can decide to stay in the situation or not stay. You have that flexibility. So would that kind of reduction in your symptoms change how that all turned out for you? Would that make a difference in your life if you could do that long term whenever stressful situations came up? Would being strong in this way allow you to change some of your circumstances, relationships, career, physical health, your ability to share your gifts with the world? Things you couldn't even imagine before because you've been working so hard just to try to see how you get from where you are to just a little bit ahead. But now there's something way more possible out there for you. And if you can just let that in a minute, what you've just done is you've joined the ranks of the first group I described, the ones who can see a better future and who are more likely than anyone else to actually get there. So see if you can let that in today. You can just kind of sit with it, or you can take action steps on it. You can click on the links to my courses if you want to. They're always below my videos in the description section. And if you're only ready for one small step though, try this. Just stop telling yourself the terrible story of your life. You break the wheel when you can believe and connect with a better vision of yourself. And then when you start taking action on it, even if it's small action, it leads to change. You can do this. I've seen many, many people with really difficult pasts begin with small steps in that positive direction, and then it gains momentum and it gains momentum, and soon real substantial life changes are carrying them off into the future. And this can happen for you. You can change.